Greetings again, my fellow good robots. This is episode 3, done 20 minutes or so after episode 2. I want to start off with another little bit of housekeeping. Just some disclosure, just so you know. Yes, my history. I told you my psych history last time. I also, it's called Confessions of a Teenage Gas Huffer, so obviously we have some substance abuse issues going on here. I also wanted to disclose that presently, knock on wood, I got plenty of wood around me, I'm not currently abusing any psychotropic substances. I'm only taking one prescribed medication that would be considered a narcotic, and at that, it's a very minuscule dose only. So, with that being said, actually, considering this is called Confessions of a Teenage Gas Huffer, I want to make that disclosure right off the bat. I do not condone. I actually am against the use of drugs. Actually, to be more precise, I'm actually pro legalization. I don't think anything should be prescribed by law. Prescripted, I mean, by law. Portugal's come up with a system that seems to be working rather smoothly, but I don't advocate for it much anymore. To go back to my first episode, the one reasons why I believe that these visions were genuine, even though they came from inhalant use, was the way in which they ended. The visions were ecstatic and they came fast and furious, and I was addicted to these perceptions, and I'll get into the specifics of them. But what I kind of want to get across right here is how they ended. I was told I was cut off. The last lesson was given, and they were cut off, and they told me I had to do it on my own to get back to where they got me. And at that moment in time, I would just get a splitting headache, and I would enter a realm that I can call the binary irony, because it's exactly that. It's on-off, two-dimensional, not a very fun, pleasant state to be in. On-off, black-white, and I call it irony because it kind of hit me as irony, like a tail chasing, the mouth eating the tail kind of thing, like the snake, the serpent kind of imagery, and then a splitting headache. So I went from these profound visions, these immense ecstatic states, to nothing but a headache and nothing. So, they cut me off, and I was quite persistent for a while in demanding that they let me back in, but it was, I thought that was telling that, I received a bunch of information via way of inhalants, and then all of a sudden they were cut off. So that kind of, for me, builds credence to the fact that, yes, they were drug-induced, but, there's something genuine about that. So back to the point I was trying to make, I don't advocate or nor do I condemn drug use, for that matter. To each his own. But if you're looking to be a good robot, the use of substances is just a dead-end road filled with pain, suffering, and misery. The better one should do, like I was implying I was getting to in the last episode, the fact that where you can cure neurosis with controlled psychosis. I find that what happened, at least with me and with many people I've seen with drug issues and drug abuse problems, is the world forces them into it. The neurosis, the fear of the world, the being uncomfortable in one's skin, that's caused by being confined in one's personality, and you want to escape. I kind of liken the analogy of being on the rack, being tortured. back in the Middle Ages and throughout time, people were known to turn in family members, their own children, their mothers and fathers, just to stop the freaking torture. I mean, yes, they worship Satan, you know, so, if you're in enough pain, you'll do anything. So to put somebody behind bars or to chastise them for using drugs, I think is ridiculous and should be avoided. However, with that being said, there is a better way. And what I'm trying to explain is another little saying I've come up with is, you need to make sure your actions match your values. And if you do that, you'll find that you don't find yourself becoming neurotic, like you've compromised yourself. Even I've noticed it on the streets, and that's the other thing. I've been on the streets now for 8 years. Even the most hardcore drug addict, the unconscionable individuals out there, you could tell, they feel that they're doing something wrong when they rip you off, and yeah, I'll be right back with your $20 or your drugs, and you see them, the next day and all strung out, what they did, and they know what they did, and they feel bad about it, and by doing that, they have to cover it up, and so we need to do more drugs, and, it's a never-ending cycle of self-depravity, of self-hatred, and the need to cover it up. So, avoid the drug use. I'm not going to, like I told you in the last episode, I'm very hesitant to tell people my secret or what I'm doing. But like I said, my medications should be kept private. Even though I want to tell you everything, I'm not. One of the reasons why I'm not is because I would. Everything, like I said, everything is purely legal, above board. I actually, at the moment, am on felony probation. I purposely did that because, I'll get into that story later if may be, but I am completely above board. I'm legal, I'm pissing clean, and I intend to. It's just that I would hate to become, have some sort of notoriety and be cut off from my little secret. And they're not really secrets. It's basically just good nutrition. I'll just throw the word out there, nootropics. Look into it, do your own research. I will not prescribe anything, at least in this personality, which right now, I'm getting into the personality. You can control your psychosis, control neurosis with controlled psychosis. Yes, I've learned throughout life that you take on many personas. The one I'm doing right now would be the teacher, which I am. I'm not currently certified, but, so one of my personas is, I go by the name Professor Teach. I have other personas that I've learned over the years. One, for a while, I was called the Reverend Laboratory Mouse, because I'm also an ordained reverend. Anyone can do it. You can get it online. A quick shout out, Universal Life Church. Look it up. I think you give them like $5 or something. They certify. I actually performed wedding ceremonies. Legally got them certified and registered, so it's no big deal. I can actually start a church and become tax exempt, which I might, probably should do, because it's America, for crying out loud. And if I want to worship my shoe, I can worship my shoe. Back to the curing neurosis with controlled psychosis. Really quickly, the difference between neurosis and psychosis is a neurotic believes that, actually a psychotic would tell you that 2 plus 2 equals 36, 82, 73, whatever, but 2 plus 2 can't equal 4 because, they've lost touch with reality, but universally is accepted as reality. The neurotic knows very well that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but they're so disturbed by it, and they become stressed and become depressed. Nothing here is brand new concept. I mean, the Buddha formulated this 500 years BCE. His is a little bit more than your actions, because they get into the Eightfold Path, which is, I can't off the top of my head, but it has to do with even thinking the right things, and that's hard. I can control my actions fairly well. I can control my words fairly well. Less in my actions, but my thoughts, oh my God, that's a tricky business. So, let's just leave you there with neurosis, secure neurosis with controlled psychosis. We'll continue with this in a little bit, but next episode. But for the time being, the two catchy phrases that I wanted to leave you with is make sure your actions match your values. I don't care if you like Coke and I like Pepsi. That's a value. Just make sure your actions support that. If you're homosexual, bisexual, trisexual, non-sexual, whatever, I don't care. That's your value. Or that, just make sure your actions are matching it. Because when your actions don't sync up with your values, you compromise yourself, and that leads to self-hatred, and that will lead to drug addiction, and more problems will follow. So it's a very simple thing. It gets a little more complicated as we go on, and I will explain that in greater detail. I don't know where I get off telling people how to live their life, and again, believe you me, I don't want to be doing this, and I want to be challenged immensely. I want to be, convinced to knock this off. Like I said, I've got children that should be the primary focus. However, like I said, I first and foremost declare my allegiance to my species. Then I guess, to my children. So, first and foremost, I'm a human, or a robot for that matter. So let's leave it there. Maybe I'll do another one. Maybe I won't. Who knows? Good morning, good robot.